I do not get pissed when people shorten it because I realize it's a mouthful. So
okay, I just want to make sure because I'm like, I will shorten things and just out of habit, and then they're like, I don't go by that. Like my sister, her name's Angela, and if you call her Angie, you may as well start running because she's gonna be mad. Yeah, so
no, everywhere I've ever worked, they always shorten it because like getting the whole word out is apparently too much work. A really short funny story is before I did this, I was a nurse for a really long time, and I actually, you know, at like the front of any nurse's station is your nurse's board with like your patient, who the nurse is, and all that other stuff. And for the longest time where I worked, the little place where people would write the nurse's name, Cassandra was too long to fit there, so everyone just always wrote Cassie in there. So for the longest time at work, I was just known as Cassie because that's how all the doctors knew me. Because and then one day after I'd worked there for like 3 years, one of my friends asked me, and I was like, well, actually I prefer Cassandra, but it doesn't fit in the box, so that's how I go. I'm Cassie at work. And she was so upset on my behalf. I wasn't mad, but she was so upset on my behalf that she insisted that we squeeze Cassandra into this little box on the nurse's station. And then from then on out, like all these doctors would be coming up to round on their patients, and they'd be like, who's Cassandra? It's me. You've known me for years.
Just change names. Yes. Okay, well I'll transition that out. Yep.
Go for it.
Well, now that we've got the ghost stories out of the way, it is time to move on to our next guest, Cassandra with Corcilla. You're gonna kill me with this one. Now that we have the ghost stories out of the way, we're gonna move on to our next guest from Corcilla Cellars. Cassandra is up next, and we're gonna get some wines out on the table. Is that okay?
Do one more. Just for the last one.
Now that we have the ghost stories out of the way, we have Cassandra with Corcilla Cellars up next. Let's grab the wine and we'll talk to her next. Yeah?
Great.
Okay. Okay, now that we're going. Okay, Cassandra, now that I have completely destroyed your name and I have like totally second guessed what I even know your name as, we've gone through the whole realm of Cassie, Cassandra.
We don't even get started on my last name.
Let's
that
not do
requires
that.
zoo animals.
Yeah, no, let's not do that. No. Thank you for driving all the way down here, and I'm also being a good sport with my name malfunctions. So, let's talk about you, and let's talk about your brand and your wine. And we've got Viognier in the glass, which is exciting. So we don't get to see this very often.
Yeah.
So it's such a nice change up of some of the other stuff we see. So, I want to start with the name of, not your name, the name of the brand first and why. Because you had told me this story of where it all came from. And picking a name for a winery is very hard. I don't think people really understand how difficult it is.
It really is. We went through a lot of iterations before we finally landed on this one and found one that wasn't taken by the trademark people of the United States.
The trademark police.
Yeah, the trademark police.
Yeah.
The word Corcilla was actually found by my husband. It's Latin. It means the heart is the seat of intelligence. So, I was a nurse, and I liked the idea of kind of using the anatomical heart as part of my label, the real reason I wanted to use a word that kind of embodied the word heart is something I don't typically tell people because I don't really like to see their faces when I'm telling them, but since this is a podcast I can tell you because I don't have to look at anyone while I'm doing it, is that I have cardiomyopathy, and so it was kind of my way of bringing word to my label that was a message to myself that nothing was going to keep me from doing what I wanted to do. So that's what it means.
The labels are beautiful, and I mean, you see the heart, like the anatomical heart used a lot in tattoos and art and blah blah blah. It's not necessarily a beautiful image.
Oh no.
I mean, it is when you just do the little 2 looped lines and you know, you put an "I love you" or something with you. It's very cute.
Yeah.
But when it's the actual anatomical thing, it's really not.
Well, anything anatomical is not
Gorgeous. It's not. But your labels are stunning. They're beautiful with the flowers and the colors and everything that you've done with it. It takes something that is so serious and so life necessary and bring a little bit of lightness to it.
Yeah, and you know, I really wanted to showcase that wine is very much a science that is married to art. So that's, and that kind of is life in general, right? So that was one of the reasons I used the anatomical heart, and it goes into the art of the flowers, which were hand painted by a friend of mine who's an artist in Portland. And all of those flowers I picked specifically for the meaning of the flowers. And so everything on the label was super intentional.
Okay, I gotta ask now because I haven't looked. Are all the labels the same flowers, or do each one have a different set of flowers with them?
No, they're all the labels have the same flower, just the labels change color based on the color of the wine. But at the top you have asters, which are September's birth month flower, which is my one little narcissist moment of my label because that's when my birthday is. And then you've got Luisia, which is for new beginnings. And then you've got your bluebells for humility, yarrow for love and healing, and the bittersweet is for truth.
I love it. I would have never guessed that. I would have just thought that you picked flowers because they were pretty and they look really nice with, you know, everything else you've got going on.
Yeah.
Look at the deep meaning going on with this.
Most people don't know, but I know, and that's really, I guess,
now the whole world knows, or anybody who at least listens to the podcast, and you know it is listened to around the world, so the whole world knows. The
whole world.
Yes, they know your heart issues. They know the flower definitions. I'm sure we're gonna know a lot more before we're done. They know that I'm an idiot. They've known that for about 8 years now. But, you know, who's counting? And you know, I've been called worse, so it's all good. Okay, let's start with your story because. We'll go backwards from the label since we've kind of started in the middle of the story. But you didn't start in the wine industry, as did most people not. They start somewhere else. Where did this whole desire to bring wine to the world begin?
Well, like I said, I was a nurse before I started doing this, and then I broke my arm, and it's difficult to deliver babies with one arm. And
True.
When it was time to go back to work, I decided to take a little bit of a sabbatical. My husband was military. He was active duty in the Army for a really long time. We were going to be moving within a year. So I decided to take a little break, and then my plan was to go back to nursing once we moved. In the meantime, I decided to take some wine classes just for fun. We had lived in Germany for 3 years. The wine culture in Europe is next level awesome.
It's not, I mean, if you've never been to Europe and explored the food and the wine, and especially the alcohol offerings over there, because it's not held at this weird level that we hold it in the U.S. I mean, I tell people that have never, like friends, I'm like, you go to a restaurant and the wine's free, it's sitting on the table, but you pay for water.
Oh yeah.
It's a complete total opposite that, you know, what you have here. And it's just part of the culture. It's part of your daily life. And the whole family drinks wine at night. I mean, it doesn't really almost matter how old you are. It's just part of what you do. Yeah. And I've been in Germany, and it's such a cool place.
Yeah. Well, we lived really close to the French border. There was a grocery store there that twice a year would do an annual or biannual big wine tent sale. And you could go and taste everything that they had for sale, and you could get cases of Bordeaux for €10. It was nuts. We came back with a lot of wine. Some of it we still have, which I'm sure is not good anymore, but we came back with so much wine. I think I could live an entire lifetime before I got through all of it.
The beauty is you can have a party and you just start popping bottles.
It's true.
And if they're not good, you're like, woo, we tried it, and you throw it down the drain and you move on to the next one. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I started taking wine classes, became obsessed. My poor husband would come home from work and I'd start talking to him about what a double cordon looked like. And now it makes me laugh, but yeah, and then we moved, and when we moved, we were going to be in our next duty station for less than a year, so again, it didn't make sense for me to go through the rigmarole of applying for a nursing license in a new state and then applying for a job only to quit and move again. So I started taking winemaking classes at a community college that was nearby, which you don't think of winemaking in Kansas. And frankly, you shouldn't. Their wine is not awesome, but it was a really great experience, and I had a really good time. I actually ordered a 5-gallon bucket of frozen Merlot grapes from Washington that got delivered to me to make my first wine in my basement in Kansas. And I actually think I still have a bottle or two knocking around somewhere. It is not good anymore. I'm not sure it was ever really good, but
you gotta start somewhere.
You gotta start somewhere. And then, it was just a really long story short. My husband ended up getting a fellowship out of UC Davis in Sacramento, and I was offered a harvest internship at a winery in Napa. And from there, I never looked back.
So no more nursing.
No more nursing.
No more babies.
No more babies.
Ones that you have to deliver anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, it got to the point where I didn't see my life going in any other direction than the way that it was going in the last few years. And it's all just kind of fell into place. I've gotten really lucky and blessed that everything has worked out the way it has for me.
So no regrets.
Which
is great, and it's really amazing kind of how life will take a turn. So it started out as a broken arm, and then the Army just kind of throws a massive wrench into anything, just
Always.
Because they have a full.
Sometimes on a daily.
Yes, yeah, and I don't know that life. I've lived it through others for sure, but it's weird how the world kind of turns you in the direction that it thinks maybe you should be in, and just kind of sets up the path for you to get there, which. You should not have been at UC Davis from Germany and Kansas of all places. And so, I mean, what better school could you have been, affiliated with, or at least in the same vicinity with, to really learn your wine? And so how did Portland come about from there? Was that just like the last stop on kind of the train as far as your husband being transferred, or was it a different job?
I'm originally from Washington State, from the Olympic Peninsula, a tiny town called Sequim.
I've been there.
Have you?
I've been through there.
Anyone knows where it's at.
I totally know where it's at. Yep.
And my husband's from the East Coast, but we knew we wanted to end up and stay on the West Coast. I just really love the people and the vibes out here. This is definitely where I feel most at home. As far as making wine, I think there's no better place in the world than the West Coast. Well, maybe not the world, but definitely the United States. My husband was happy to stay on the West Coast as well. So he left active duty out of Fort Lewis and Tacoma, and then was offered a job in Portland at Legacy Manual, and we decided to put our roots down here. It's been great. It's so nice after 20 years to be able to have a place that you know you're going to be next year and the year after, and your neighbors are still going to be your neighbors, and you can really start to make a community and feel like you're putting down roots. And I really feel like that's what we've started to do here, and it's been a long time coming, and it's been really a great feeling.
I can only imagine that military migratory life just gets old after a while, and it is hard. You can't paint your walls and be excited about it because you know you might be moving to the next, or next week or the next 30 days or whatever the case is. And
I mean, it's definitely a blessing and a curse. We've met some amazing people, some of my very best friends in the world. I wouldn't have met them if it weren't for the military. And we saw some really great places. Like I said, we lived in Germany for 3 years. I don't feel like most people get that opportunity. But there is definitely something to be said for having a place to call home.
it also makes you worldly. You see a lot of different things. You taste a lot of different foods, wines, experience a lot of different cultures. and it could be the, you know, quote unquote same culture that you see here, but it's completely different when you're living in Germany.
For sure.
You know, it just is treated differently, I think. Let's talk about your wine and your cute little wine shop. It is cute. Like it's, I brought the dog down. So, and it's downtown Oregon City, and it's, I hate to say it's a little hole in the wall, but like it would be,
is though.
but it would be really easy to walk past if you didn't know it was there. And it's, you have it so cute inside, and it's very homey, and the dog was welcome. I don't know if other dogs are welcome.
Oh,
but,
totally.
Okay.
We love dogs.
Yeah, so my dog was welcome. She did potty on the floor, so we were, I think we still have an invite back until she's naughty and can't come back. But
we've got wood floors. It's easy to clean up.
yeah, you gotta think ahead on stuff like that. So we've started with Viognier. What is kind of your idea on your winemaking style? Are you focusing more like on Eastern Washington stuff, or are you just whatever kind of floats your boat for the year you're taking on?
Well, to be honest, my intentional winemaking purpose was to not make Pinot. I love Pinot. I think it's great. I think Oregon does such a beautiful job, but you know, there's so many other varietals that Oregon grows and grows so beautifully that can be hard to find in this area. I think you can find them if you go to Southern Oregon or out towards the Walla Walla area, but in the Portland area, I think it's harder to find. So I wanted to make sure that people who live in the Portland area can see the other things that are being grown in our area that are being done really well.
I think it's a great idea because there is a lot of Pinot, and it's also very hard to fit into the world of Pinot as the, you know, 700th, you know, winery that is making Pinot in the area. Whereas if you're doing, and again, I love Pinot too, and Oregon is known for Pinot, and it's an amazing location for growing that grape and making that wine. But it is nice finding something else that's a little bit different, especially if you're Pinot out and just want kind of a shift.
Right.
You know, and I hear it a lot with like friends that come out of town that are wine tasting. They're like, okay, we want definitely like some of your recommendations for great Pinot, but what else is out there?
Right, for sure. Yeah. And yeah, I would say 50% of my grapes come from Eastern Washington, and the other 50 come from Oregon, either Southern Oregon or Eastern Oregon. Eastern Washington is also making some really beautiful wine. They do a really great job with the Bordeaux and Rhone varietals. So I didn't want to discriminate.
Well, why should you? I mean, why not try them all?
Exactly.
So let's go through kind of your lineup and why you've decided to do what you've done. Because I'm always interested in the mindset of why you've chosen Grenache, or you've chosen Viognier over, you know, maybe some of the other options that you have.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm really excited about is I make a Riesling pet-nat. That was intentional because I think Riesling has a bad rap, unless you live in Germany.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, and Riesling is beautiful. It's such a fun grape. I think a lot of people think of it as that late harvest Riesling.
Syrupy, sweet.
That's syrupy, but you go outside of the late harvest Chateau Ste. Michelle style, and you can find some really food-friendly, beautiful acid Rieslings. And so my idea was to introduce people to Riesling in a different way, and pet-nat was a fun way to do it because who doesn't love bubbles? And it's hard to say no to bubbles. So if I'm trying to get you to try Riesling, I'm like, but it's sparkling, then I can usually get people to try it, and people are always really surprised, and it's really fun. It's one of my favorite ones to make. So I do that, and then I do a Viognier and a Sauvignon Blanc are my other two whites. I really like the higher acid whites. That's my own personal preference. So I like to make what I like to drink. If this all goes downhill, I'm gonna have to drink it all anyway. So
I was just gonna add that in there.
Might as well be what I want it to be. So.
And I love that with like boutique like winemakers. They're like, if this all goes to hell in a handbasket, I'm gonna have a hella cellar that I enjoy to drink,
so
and somebody's got to drink the shit.
Yep.
So it may as well be me.
Yeah.
I want to kind of circle back really quickly to the Riesling because I am also a huge fan of Riesling. I love it. And I hear it all the time. It's like, I don't like it. And I'm like, but what are you drinking? Like, are you drinking the syrupy stuff?
Right.
Because I don't like that. Like, that's not my way of drinking Riesling either. But Germany is known for some of the best Rieslings in the world. And some of the most expensive wines in the world are old aged Rieslings that are coming out of Germany. Like thousands of dollars a bottle, which is...
Well, have you seen their vineyards? They're like 90 degrees. I don't know how people get up there.
It's like Portugal.
Yes, for sure.
And Portugal is insane. And asking them, I'm like, how do you guys do this? They're like, there's baskets on their backs and they walk up and down these hills, and I'm like...
Which, you know, super cheap. Super cheap labor.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's too steep for animals, and it's definitely too steep for, like, you know, like, mobile equipment and things like that. And I'm like, okay, remind me to never come here during harvest, because I don't ever want to be recruited into... I'm just not in the kind of shape to walk up and down those hills. I mean, I will admit it. I got a little bit too much fat on me, and my lungs are not in shape to do any sort of harvest on those mountainsides. It's insane. Like, my husband is a mountain goat, and he's like, I don't even know if I'd want to do that.
No.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I
well,
definitely wouldn't.
Germany is 100% on my list to go back to. I got drunk in Munich in college during Oktoberfest, and so I don't remember a lot of it.
That's different level.
Yeah, so the pictures are amazing. I had a great time, but the actual memories were definitely not floated around enjoying German Riesling or really anything other than Munich. So, so I highly encourage people to try the Riesling. Like, there's so many different wineries that are doing multiple styles of it, so you can try anything from a super dry to a mostly sweet, a Riesling and everything in between, and a pet-nat. Anytime you say bubbles and sparkling,
exactly,
you catch my attention and make him kind of glisten just a little
attention.
bit. Yes.
He doesn't love bubbles.
Yes, my husband, but he doesn't count.
Well,
he loves beer bubbles, but he doesn't like wine bubbles. He's a weird man.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all, but I've learned to not question it. Just don't pour it for him, it's a waste.
I actually just opened for the first time. I made a traditional sparkling with Chardonnay a couple years ago, my first harvest as Corcilla, which I bottled and have set aside and literally have not visited again. Just been crossing my fingers that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing in the bottle. And I finally opened one the other day with some pad thai that my sister-in-law and I had made from scratch, which neither of us had done before and was pretty labor intensive. But I had brought home a bottle of this sparkling, and it had been sitting upside down in my fridge, stabilized by a towel for a couple weeks so the yeast could settle to the bottom. And I'm in the middle of like twirling noodles in this pan, and I said to my husband, I was like, I need you to go disgorge this sparkling wine. And he said, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, listen, you just gotta hold it upside down, and as you're opening it, just flip it up at the same time. And he's like, can I twirl the noodles instead? And I said, you got this, I believe in you. And so he did it, and we had it with the pad thai, and it was actually really good. I'm really excited about it. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disgorge like a third of it now, and then maybe a third of it in a year, and a third of it 2 years from now, so we can do like a lineup of like 2 years on the lees, 3 years on the lees, 4 years on the lees.
That's exciting.
Really fun.
I hope you took video of him disgorging that.
My brother-in-law did, and in very Brian fashion, he did it, and he looked at the camera and he goes, that actually went remarkably well. It was the most Brian video ever.
I'm assuming Brian's the husband.
Yes.
Yes. And why he's a surgeon. It's like a
Exactly.
surgeon response to
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. I hoped he would have worn half of it and whatever, but
well, his work parties have turned into me teaching all of the new legacy employees how to savor Prosecco bottles.
Oh.
It gets a little out of control at their Christmas parties.
I will tell you from being around my sister and listening to her stories, the medical industry has some wild parties sometimes and some weird ideas.
They're crazy. You have to be though, right?
You have to be a little cuckoo.
Yeah. For
And no
multiple
offense,
reasons.
Angela. Yeah.
I mean, for multiple reasons.
Yes.
It'll be-
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so we have champagne coming.
Mhm.
We have sparkling Riesling.
Mhm.
We have a Viognier. Is this Eastern Washington?
Yeah. That one.
You can kind of tell the difference. I mean, just between like Willamette Valley Viognier. That's. I said this when I was in Southern Oregon last week because there's so much more. I think heat units and hotness in Eastern Washington and Southern. There's so much more fruit character to this, and it's not lean and ultra minerally. It has just.
It has that more like oily
and that's
body
not.
that I think is traditional for a Viognier.
Yeah, and it's just super flavorful. Like
Nice.
some of them just don't have a ton of flavor, and no offense to whoever grows it, but this is just really lovely, and it's a little bit pink if you can see it in the camera because there's just a little bit of Pinot Noir that was left at the bottom that turned it a little bit of color. So
Yeah. And then red wine, I mean, I make several different kinds of red wine. I love the Italian and Spanish varietals. One of the ones I brought today is Ruth. It's a Bordeaux style blend. It is part of my Badass Women blend series. So every
Ooh.
year I do a new blend. I name it after a new badass lady. And this one's named after the OG badass lady, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Our most recent release is Betty, after Betty White.
she's amazing.
Yeah, everyone keeps asking me who my next lady is going to be, and I haven't decided yet. But the great thing is that there is no shortage of
Choices.
Yeah, exactly. And then we do $1 of all of our bottle sales of all of our badass blends to the Oregon Girls Collaborative Project, which helps get girls interested in STEM careers.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, yeah. The badass blends are they've got a special place in my heart.
You did not mention this when I was in your tasting room, so I like badass women blends. It kind of rolls off the tongue, but it's also kind of a mouthful.
It kind of
Yeah,
is a mouthful,
yeah.
but
It's a
I
lot
also
to
like
say.
all of my back labels pretty much say the same thing except for my badass blends, which have like a little blurb on why we picked that person and then a quote from them. So I feel like the back labels of my badass blends are my favorite.
I love it when there's a story on the back. They have some personality to it rather than just, something very bland, boring, and maybe
Yeah.
even just like, and no offense again to any of my winemaker friends that are just tasting notes, because I want to enjoy the wine and make my own decisions, let alone being told what I should be drinking and tasting, because I'm not good at that.
Well, I have a little bit of I don't like giving people tasting notes. I think one of my big things in terms of my tasting room and my just my whole vibe of my winery is that I don't want people to feel stupid. At the end of the day, wine is fermented grape juice. It's beautiful and it has there's so much that goes into it, and I love it so much. But also, it should never make someone feel stupid or dumb. It should be part of your Tuesday night pizza or your 25th anniversary
Or your pad thai.
or your pad thai. But I really feel pretty passionately about being approachable to everybody, whether you are a next level sommelier. I think I make pretty good wine for you, or if you are brand new to wine and the only thing you've had is frosé from the bar down the street. I feel like it's important to be able to talk to you at your level.
And there is nothing wrong with a good frosé.
Oh, 100%. We totally do that in the summer.
Oh my God, we just had one when we were in Disney World in Florida, and in France, in the France Pavilion at Epcot of all places. I'm like, this is the most badass thing I could have asked for today, because it was like mango flavored maybe, and I'm just like, this rocks. Like alcoholic slushies for adults. It's so great. Yes. What else are we missing? We didn't talk about the Grenache.
Oh, I actually just entered this Grenache. I did my first wine competitions this winter. I hadn't done them before, and it won a gold medal at the Sabre Northwest wine competition. So that's why I bought it. It's 100% Grenache. I really like it. It's one of my favorites right now. It's really pretty. It's a very feminine example of Grenache, I think.
Define that.
I just think it's very, it's not robust and super oaky. It's just like this really pretty, subtle, how you would describe feminine.
I just was interested on what you were actually going to say about it. So
Yeah.
that's all right. Totally put you on the spot for that.
No, it's
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You did good. Okay. Where do we find you? And
so
how do you spell Corcilla?
Corcilla.
Corcilla. God bless it. I said it right in my head and it came out wrong out my mouth.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Corcilla is Corcilla. So Latin, not Hispanic. So
That was my southern pronunciation.
The
for that.
double L is
Yeah.
not the Y that is in Hispanic language. But our tasting room's in Oregon City, right downtown, in a really old building that also actually has a ghost.
Oh, do tell. We're on a ghost adventure here.
I
so.
know. He started talking about his ghost, and I got very excited. We have, when I first opened the space, I actually had a shaman come in and do like a clearing and blessing of the space, which was really fun. But my sister and her partner have both separately sworn that they see a red-haired lady who likes to hang out in our basement. And I totally believe it. The basement has vibes for sure. And it's just a really old building, so I don't know why there wouldn't be ghosts. But yeah, downtown Oregon City, and then you can find us online. We ship to most places. Our Instagram is Corcilla Cellars. Our website is corcilla.com. Yes, thanks for having me.
And I'm gonna have to come back and visit the ghost.
Yeah.
I had my own ghost in my old office. She was an old church lady that also messed with the doors. Yes, it scared me several times.
Well, she's pretty chill. She's not mean. She just hangs out. When we first started renovating down there, my sister, one of the guys who was helping us do the renovations, found this really old lipstick down there, and he went to pick it up and throw it away. And my sister was like, "That is her lipstick. You better put that back."
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and people are gonna think I'm a wackadoodle anyways, but you know, I am definitely a believer that there is something out there for sure. So, and now we've had 3 stories on the same podcast about
I mean, if that isn't proof, I don't know what.
ghosties. Yes. Thank you, Cassandra, of Corcilla Cellars. Did I do it right that time?
Yes.
Yeah. I've known you for like a year or 2 now, and I don't know how many times we have talked on the phone and through email and blah blah blah. I'm so sorry. I should be fired. Please don't though. Yeah. I really like you. Well, thank you for coming all the way down here, telling all your stories, sharing your wines, and just being part of this little bit of chaos that I call a podcast.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Okay. John, what's your?
Awesome. Okay.
Do you have a name for your audio company, so I can do like the credits?
I don't know.
Just John.
I usually don't
John
get
the Sound
shout out.
Man.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
John the Sound Man.
Yeah.
That's Ruth. This is the Grenache.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's Ruth.
Oh,
That's a badass.
That's a
Ruth,
badass.
Ruth Bader
I'll start
Ginsburg.
with badass.
Yes.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Okay, so I'll do the end credits. It is the Platter Gal, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Letter girl.
Is it girl or gal?
It's girl.
Let me